Mode.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to our webinar today. We are 1 minute from starting this presentation, and we're very excited to have you all join us today. With us today, we have Neosystems, NetSuite, and then, of course, Balance Interactive. And we'll get started in just a couple of seconds. Okay, well, I think we're going to get started. It is 12 noon Eastern Standard Time, and we are ready to go. Again, welcome to our webinar today, Supporting the Customer Experience Technology Beyond Data Silos. We are very excited to have our co-presenters here from Neosystems and NetSuite, and I look forward to sharing the information that we have with you guys. Just a couple of housekeeping items here real quick. All attendee microphones will be muted just to prevent any background noise. Please ensure that you have entered your audio PIN if you are calling in by phone so you can hear us. If you have any questions, please submit them into the question box and we will either get them answered during this webinar or we will have a follow-up email with some of the questions that have not been answered. There will also be an interactive poll, actually 2 interactive polls that will be conducting during this webinar, and then there will be a recording of this webinar available and sent to you with the follow-up email that will be coming your way early tomorrow morning. If you have any additional questions, please contact me, Kazan Knapp, at balanceinteractive.com, and then feel free to tweet about our co-presenters today, Neosystems Corp, at NetSuite, and at balance_team if you have nice things to say about us, or if you just want to say anything. If you have any questions, if you're having any problems, again, just type them into the question box and I will try and help as much as I can. Okay, on to our presenters this morning. We have Melissa from Balance Interactive, Jeff from Neosystems, and David from NetSuite. And I'm going to give them each just a couple of seconds to introduce themselves and tell you a little bit more about what they do. Melissa, go ahead.
Sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Melissa Woodson. I'm the information architect over at Balance Interactive and have been leading a lot of our journey mapping exercises and lots of customer research that we do with our clients to help them better understand how their customer journey is and how they can better serve their customers.
Great. Thanks. Jeff, go ahead.
Yeah, sure. Good morning, everyone. My name is Jeff Warner. I'm a Senior Vice President with Neosystems. And at Neosystems, we provide managed services, business process outsourcing, and business process as a service solutions to clients, as well as consulting, and we also do hosting.
Great. Thank you, Jeff. And David, go ahead.
Thanks, and it's good to be here. My name is David Geilhufa. I'm the senior director at NetSuite. We are the fastest growing provider of cloud-based financial software in the world with about 25,000 customers. About 500 of those are nonprofits, and I run our nonprofit vertical business.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being here, everybody, and welcome. Okay, on to our agenda for today. We are going to be looking at technologies leveraged to deliver better self-service and web experiences, best practices for integrating customer channels and touch points, and then we're going to look at a couple of case studies and how they change their back end to really support their customer experience and make the customer feel heard and listened to. And then we'll go on to a question section. So we're going to kick it off here. I'm not sure how many of you joined us for the first part of this webinar where we discuss customer journey mapping. But as we look at the customer experience moving forward, it's becoming increasingly important for the customer to be put first. And that is why we do journey mapping at Balance. And Melissa can give you just a quick rundown of what customer journey map really is and what the benefit of it is.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we talk about customer journey mapping, in the very broadest sense, we're talking about taking a look at the customer's experience throughout either your customer lifecycle. So, from the time that they have a problem and begin researching how they're going to solve that problem to the end of, not even the end of their experience, but kind of where they come through your organization. They go through this research um, phase, they go through maybe a discovery and purchasing phase, and then they come to the point that they're using your organization to help them solve their problem. Maybe that's in the form of, they become a member and they join, or they've purchased, a product that you're offering, something like that. Or we can look at their experience going through maybe a conference or event that you have. So we're just really focusing on what is the customer trying to achieve, what's the problem that they're trying to solve, and how can we do a better job of meeting them where they are in a way that's less internally focused and more externally focused. So we're making sure that we're meeting their needs and not just thinking about, okay, these are our organizational goals, these are the things that we need to do, but we're marrying both organizational goals and customer goals so that we can provide a better experience.
Great. And Mel, I've got the problem statement up here, and I can talk a little bit to this, but, so the problem here that I know that we see consistently in some of our clients is that we do the customer journey map process, and we create this great customer journey map. And then we look at their organizational structure and how their departments are working, and we come across a lot of silos. And we find out that, and this is usually what we uncover actually during the customer journey map, is that these departments aren't speaking to each other, the technologies that they're using aren't speaking to each other. And that becomes a huge problem because it makes it really hard for your organization to support your customer journey if all of these departments or whatever touch points your customers are hitting are siloed and are not transferring the right data to each other or pulling the right data and aren't properly integrated. And so that becomes usually, Melissa, I know at Balance we say a moment of truth, right, where that becomes a big issue if your departments aren't speaking to each other, your technology isn't speaking to each other, and it causes a lot of issues in the back end.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, a really good example of that is when maybe, oh, heaven forbid, you have to call Comcast because you're having an issue with your service, and you call in and you speak to the first person and they've got to patch you through to, somebody who's more specialized who can handle your issue better. And every single person that you talk to in the course of that customer interaction, you're the same customer, of course, on the one end, but then, first you talk to somebody and you give them your name and your phone number and your date of birth and your social security number and your mother's maiden name and XYZ number of things, and then they send you off to the next person and you have to go through and tell that person all the same information.
Mm-hmm.
And it just, that cumulative effect starts to become frustrating for customers. So that's why we want to look at those things and those kind of pain points for customers and see how we can break down the silos and make their experience better.
Mm-hmm. Great. Well, with that, we're going to go into our first poll question here real quick because we just want to get an idea of what you guys are facing out there, what problems you're running into. So the poll question is, what are the challenges you face daily that create silos in your organization? And I'm going to open this poll up here. And if you could all participate, that would be great. I'm going to just give it a couple of seconds for people to participate here, so we can. And I'll share the poll with you after we've. Well, there people are coming in. There's a lot of our technology solutions aren't integrated. That's what we see quite often. I'm sure David and Jeff, you see this quite often too.
Yeah, absolutely. We see lots of problems with clients integrating, and I mentioned earlier that we do business process as a service. So part of that solution is taking multiple solutions and finding ways to get them integrated in a way where data is exchanged. With our expertise and our focus sets within the not-for-profit industries and within the government contracting industries. So, these are lots of compliance requirements, lots of reporting requirements, and we always are finding clients that are struggling with that, disjointed systems, repetitive data entry, and those types of things.
Mm-hmm. Great. Well, we closed our poll here. I'm going to share the results with you. So we had here our technology solutions aren't integrated, which 50%. We don't have a marketing business strategy, 17. Don't have tech solutions to support customer experience. Back office solutions don't support business strategy, 8. And then other. If the couple of you that said other could just type into the question box what some of the other things you are running into, that would be great, because we would love to be able to help figure out how we can, if we can provide any information on how we can help solve those problems. And then Erica said all of the above. Yes, Erica, we run into people like that or clients like that all the time, where it's a little combination of everything that is happening. So, so if we were to look at the solution then, in an ideal world here, what this would look like, we would want obviously all of our technology to be speaking to each other. When we use the word integrated, to really mean integrated and really push and pull the information that needed. And for us to better understand that, I'm going to ask Jeff to just explain a little more what this means, what this ideal world would look like.
Sure, thanks, Gaza. So yeah, in an ideal world, we're looking for data that's totally transparent. Looking at the poll results, right? A lot of us all have the same problems. We have data that's not flowing from system to system and getting from one place to the other without duplicate data entry. And when you're doing duplicate data entry, you create errors. So we're looking for a way to create data so that no matter where you put it in, all the people who need to get to that data can access that data, right? And that you're doing that with an integrated solution, right? So we're looking for integrated solutions, one source of data entry, pulling that data across, and whether that's your membership management team putting in contact information and address information, and then pulling that over into your accounting system to do your billings and manage your customer contacts and things like that. We're looking for a fully connected system with all data in a single place. And then we're looking for porous data, and so all the data blends together. It's going both ways, right? It's a NetSuite, one of our partners on the phone. They're one of the few solutions that actually pride themselves on delivering a unified system. And what unified means is it's not an integrated system. It is a single back-end database with a single set of code. So you're not taking a bunch of different systems and plugging them in. A solution like NetSuite can take clients where it fits, 90% down the way of having a unified system. And especially in government contracting and in not-for-profit business, a lot of times you see specialized systems and you end up having to plug some things in, and that's okay, right? As long as you measure that and understand what you're plugging in and make sure that you do put in the right integrations so that you can create these transparent and porous systems and share data seamlessly between all your internal customers and external customers as needed as well.
Yeah, and Jeff, I think the most frustrating thing that I've seen happen with some of our clients, and even at a couple of companies that I've worked for, is the word integrated. Never actually, integrated can mean many different things, and really understanding what the integration there is, and understanding that there needs to be a push and a pull for the data to really be integrated, versus it pushing one way and then not being able to really again, pull it back, or being able to understand what that middle section is, if you need to have a third-party integration, and being able to set that all up appropriately so that the end goal is having all of that data as a snapshot which I think is really what everyone at the end of the day wants to see. You just want a snapshot of data that is helping you or helping you understand your customers and what their needs are.
Yeah, and you're correct, Kazan, and talking, integrated is very loosely defined. People, and software OEMs, right, come out and say my data is integrated. Well, what they might mean is you can download a file from one place and push a button and load that file. In today's world, it's 2015 with web services and the technology available to us. You can really make that process more seamless. Two different databases we talk to each other and pass data between each other very easily these days.
Absolutely.
And David, you're going to add to that?
One of the things that we see at NetSuite is that people are using different integration strategies and at a higher level than just the tools and the modern web services. You got CSV going back and forth. It comes down to what's your strategy? Are you going to use this kind of best of breed circle of equal systems, or are you going to use a hub and spoke kind of model? And one of the things that integration requires is you either have people kind of pushing your best of breed stuff, or you have systems like business intelligence, something big like Hyperion. And generally what we see, especially in complex business processes like association, where you have membership management over here and you have a transactional system over there and you have a GL over there, trying to get all that placed into some place where it can be transparent is extremely challenging. And as you mentioned, NetSuite really prides itself on being a single system, but at the same time, we can't be everything to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
But what we can do is we can provide that center of the hub and make it a little bit easier to take all of this purpose-built data and put it together in a way that is accessible to line staff. So you don't need to have somebody who's a database guru and knows what big data is, and you're competing against all the guys that are trying to hire the big data resources just to get one view of what's going on in your customer base.
Mm-hmm. So, David, would you say then that because we see this with our clients, and to start off the process of coming in and evaluating the technology that you have, so the first step really then is looking at what you have and then almost doing an audit and then creating a strategy to start really figuring out if the solutions that you're using are properly integrated, or are you maybe only using 50% of what you have? Or so would you say that the first step really is just looking at the technology that you have, auditing what you have, and then creating a strategy around that to start off the process of figuring out what your solutions should be?
Absolutely. And what always strikes us as we work with nonprofit clients is we get people who think it's really complicated. And really it's not. You take a piece of paper, draw a bunch of circles. There's my GL, there's my CRM. Oh, I have 2 CRMs. Oh, I have 3 CRMs. Oh, I have 4 CRMs. Whatever your specific situation is. And then you try to start drawing arrows. Data from here has to go over there. And then you start labeling the arrows. Automated, somebody's double entering, all this stuff. It's really a lot less complicated than it first appears. And then it gives you the understanding to go to somebody like Neosystems and have them do the next layer down, really dig into the business process. And often what we see in our clients is they'll come back with a sheet of paper that has bigger clients. We've seen 200 systems, 300 systems in really large organizations, but even in small organizations, we'll see 50 systems sometimes. This person's desktop, that person's desktop. And what you do is you just look at that world and you don't try to do the whole thing. You pick the piece of that world that has the most value to your organization. And that customer journey mapping process is a great way to figure out where you should go first.
Mm-hmm.
Go first to the place that your customer has the most pain and solve that.
Yeah, that's a great point. Actually, we used to, at my old company, we used to do the process that you just said, where you just draw out, what you currently have. We used to do that for the RFP process, and because they would list all of the systems that they had. And we would do that just to be able to show them how none of their databases were communicating. They were using Excel spreadsheets here and, all of these different things. And it used to amaze people just being able to see it on a sheet of paper, how their technology was kind of spread all over the place and not speaking to each other.
And one of the things that we see when we do those maps is, NetSuite is a modern cloud-based platform. So we're part of this, what our CEO likes to call the last computing architecture. First there were punch cards, and then there were mainframes, and then there was microcomputers and client server, and now we have everything accessible over the internet, right? And now we're putting really complicated things accessible over the internet, your core financials, ERP, your business process, your data manipulation, all that stuff is just accessible with a web browser. But when people draw those diagrams of their systems, what they're starting to realize is that that describes an old mode of looking, right? It used to be that, you went to your transactional system or your GL system to see aggregated data about revenue. But you couldn't connect that revenue data to exactly what a member bought or a member did or which events they went to. And so, CRM starts to bleed into your GL. And then when you do this customer experience mapping, it even highlights at a next level that, these older systems don't have the integration potential or create these manual requirements or require you to put BI tools in the middle or things like that are really Band-Aids. They're not solving the core problem. And more importantly, in this era of Amazon teaching people how to create new expectations, in this era where everybody has a smartphone and they can click on Uber and suddenly a car shows up and it's clean and it's got water for you, it changes the customer's experience. And good thing Comcast is a monopoly, otherwise they'd really, really be in trouble.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's where the personalization part also comes in, because people are expecting it more often now because it's becoming just a part of the experience. And like you say, when you click a button on Uber and a car shows up, it's way easier than it used to be to try and get a cab, and you would get in the cab and it's usually a little dirtier than an Uber car, and they usually, cab drivers don't make as much of an effort, and so that experience, even if you're paying a little more for an Uber car, you still do it because that experience is so much more personalized to what your needs are. And we see that quite often, actually, with personalization now becoming something that is just expected and not kind of out there, and something that only Amazon is doing or Zappos is doing. And it really is changing the customer experience as a whole. Well, great. So we're going to look here. So silos are squeezing your customers out the door. We see this quite often. I think everyone can understand what this means. And we're going to have David and also Jeff from Neo. We're going to have you guys just talk a little bit about what you've seen, how these technologies that people are using that aren't speaking to each other, how is it really affecting your customers in goal? And Melissa, you can chime in here as well. But David, I'm going to have you just say a couple of words here about how you see this really happening in the real world. Is this really happening? Are silos squeezing your customers out the door?
So I think it is, right? Because we just talked about how the customer expectation is changing, and you give the great example of Comcast. I go to the first person, I give the same information. I go to the second person, I give the same information. When you peel that back and you start looking at the silos in your organization and why you're giving your Social Security number out over and over again, you start understanding that it comes down to, this system only allows me to export something to a spreadsheet and then import it someplace else. And if anybody's ever done that, actually there's like some character that's wrong in the spreadsheet and it messed up on the upload, and now we're 2 weeks behind in syncing the systems. And sometimes we forget that that little 2-week delay, which was, the IT guy's on vacation, we can't get this fixed, especially for a small organization, can cascade into 10 members or 100 members or 150 members, calling up and trying to figure out, I need to change my credit card number. I have to, deal with this event registration. It can cause folks to just have the wrong information.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Oh, you did change it over there, but we didn't make it over into my system, so now I've given you the wrong direction. Customer goes out and tries to do something, doesn't work, calls you back. You then call your colleague in the other department. You're like, oh yeah, that all kind of worked out. Now, what we have to do is we often look at that as our internal process, but we have to look at it more from what did the customer do? They called up, they asked a question, they got the wrong answer. They got the wrong answer again, and they got the wrong answer again. Now, what did that do to the customer's relationship to your organization? Quite frankly, usually what it does is it says, these guys are really not competent. I'm going to go find somebody that is. And this then plugs into this much broader consumer experience we have of, if Uber can do this magical thing where the car just shows up, well, then why can't these guys get my credit card number and my registration for the conference right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think then it comes back down to Neosystems and how do you actually map that process?
Yeah, and I think, Melissa, that's where also we see quite often when you do the customer journey map process and you really do take that outside in view, it becomes way more clear because I think it's really tough, and what we see quite often is that internal staff sit around a conference room table and they say, well, we think our clients need X, or we think our members want this, or we think, and we're not walking in their shoes.
Yeah, I mean, even just a couple days ago, I sat in a room with the CEO of an association, and she's working really hard to revamp their member experience. And she said, at the end of the day, I can write down, map it all out, what I think would be the optimal member experience, but, I'm just guessing. So it's really important to actually get that data. And, it's nice to see them, and I think organizations in general, being more customer focused. And so, rather than that inside out approach like you were talking about, it's more of an outside in. So, the customer journey map in and of itself really gets the whole organization engaged in this idea of customer service and being more customer focused rather than just trying to solve those internal problems. So the meshing of those two ideas should be happening all the time, and I think that it's slowly evolving to the point that people are realizing that and saying, okay, we can't just focus on what our goals are. We need to really think about our customers too. And so there's great solutions that are starting to make that more possible than they have been in the past.
Yeah, and we normally see the financial impact to what happens if you don't get that right.
Yeah.
So we're dealing with clients taking the experience from the client onboarding all the way through the billing. Right? You get information wrong, you're getting bills wrong, you're impacting cash flow, you're getting financials out wrong. So you have to look at the total solution and find an integrated way to make it all work together.
Mm-hmm. That's a great point. Okay, so we're gonna move into the next section here. If there are any questions, please type them in the question box. And we're gonna look at what we can do. Matthew, you said there's a bad echo. I hear it too. Let me check if I can fix this real quick. Okay. Is that better?
That sounds better.
That sounds better. Okay, great. So we're going to just look at, so what can we do? We kind of just got into this a little bit here with Melissa, but really by identifying what your customers are doing. Oh no, it's back. Yeah. Okay. So by identifying what your customers are doing, I think it helps you understand again, and like David had said earlier, it seems like it's complicated when you when you try and do an audit of your technology. But at the end of the day, just being able to sketch out what you're currently using for your CRM, for your AMS, for email, anything that you're doing, and being able to put these on a piece of paper and then connect them to what your customers are trying to do, is really kind of the first step of being able to understand how your technology um, can either work together, or is not working together as they should be. And so we're going to look here when we're talking about connect here. After you plot the customer journey, you are going to not only start identifying the touch points along this relationship, but you're also going to start understanding the potential issues throughout your organization. I think it's going to highlight what those issues are, and as well as which department is handling that. I think that's one of the most important things to remember, is that when you're looking at these technologies, they most likely are all different departments that you are trying to connect together. And that gets complicated at times, because who owns the technology in that department? How open are they to creating this open environment where everyone's sharing? How much do they understand their technology? So that gets a little complicated, and that's where Neosystems, for instance, can be a great help and come in and help you understand how to connect the dots there. And then we look at collaborate here. Once you've identified the key stakeholders, you need to get them together to fill in the details behind the scene. And I'm going to let Melissa talk a little more about this just internally, how to get these stakeholders to collaborate and understand what you're trying to achieve with
Yeah, and again, it goes back to that idea of getting people to really focus on the idea of customer service, just engaged in that. Okay, we're not going to just try to achieve what we're doing internally, but think about, okay, there's someone on the other end of this that we really need to work toward or work for. That's the person that we're serving. So that collaboration starts to break down those silos instantly. It's okay, let's all come together, figure out how can we solve this problem? How can we work together to make this better? And then you start to think, okay, so we can do these 5 solutions that are immediately going to make the customer journey or customer experience better, and then you can execute them. And when you start to work in that collaborative team environment, then people can do those necessary actions. They can really come together and think about how to make things really customer centric and really serving those customers first.
Yeah, and so when we look at that, the next step here really is to share this map and I think get people excited, right? Have we seen that internally? I mean, people get really excited when they start looking at this customer journey and understanding and being able to understand that customer journey.
Yeah, absolutely. They get very excited. But I think it's also important to point out that there are some uncomfortable moments with a customer journey map. You know, it's not all rainbows and unicorns. There's a lot that goes into it that kind of strips off the shiny surface and exposes that, bare underbelly of things that aren't working. So when everyone sees, okay, here's the brutal truth, um, it makes people uncomfortable. It makes them nervous because, you know, a lot of times people will go, okay, well, that thing on that customer journey map that's really not working, that's my job. So I've got to figure out how I can either do that better or how I can stay relevant in the organization. We sometimes see that. Or we see people go, wow, we just have a really uphill battle, and that makes them nervous and that makes them uncomfortable as well. But the flip side of that, and I think the real benefit to it, is that it gets people thinking and they can really see the necessity of, okay, we need to come together, and again go back to that collaborate point. We need to come together, work together to serve everyone better. I mean, it's not something that's going to happen overnight, and it is going to be a difficult process, but it's absolutely necessary.
And that's where the align part comes in.
Yes, exactly. So, when you start to look at a customer journey that's not working and has all these touch points that are pretty negative, people aren't happy with their interactions with the organization. Those, again, are those moments of truth where we say, okay, we're putting in a lot of effort to do this thing in our organization, and guess what? It's not working for anyone. So that's a aha light bulb moment. We need to say, okay, how are we going to change our strategy around that need that we think that we're solving there? How can we do that better? And then you can even start to rethink your customer journey. What does the ideal customer journey look like? What things are you doing well that you can build on, and what things are not so good that you need to just not do at all? And then how does your technology support that? How can you create this really integrated, collaborative customer journey so that when people call you or come to one of your events or download a white paper, anything that a customer might do when they interact with your organization, it's a completely seamless process. So it's as simple as them just thinking it and it happens. They really see you as an organization that's thinking of them first. They say, oh wow, they thought about me. They know what I want. They're putting it front and center right here in front of me, and I don't have to work for it. So it makes them want to keep coming back because it's really a pleasure to work with you.
Mm-hmm. Great, yeah, and I think that seems to be my issue here. So.
We at NetSuite, we've seen a really kind of interesting dynamic around this alignment piece. So, we talked about departments and we talked about silos, and what's interesting about it is when you're going to this process, the first thing you want to think about when you start working on the technology layer is it doesn't have to be in the same silos that the humans are in. Right, so in the humans, we've got a finance department, and we've got maybe a commerce department, we have a customer service department, and an events department, and we're organized that way for a reason. And then we do the customer journey map, and everybody's in the room, and then we look at that really hard problem to solve. Oh my gosh, everybody has their own transactional system, for example. We can't get it all into one place. The thing about technology that is so important for just regular business folks to understand is it does not have to operate in the same silos that humans do. You can actually have unified technology systems. So if you've ever heard the term role-based permissioning, that's why when you go to modern systems, they all have role-based permissioning, because you can take all your data about all your transactions with all your members and put it in one place. And then the events team just sees the events piece of it. And the finance team just sees the finance piece of it. And this is actually much easier for people to do. And if that's where your starting point is, suddenly it's a lot less, it doesn't seem as insurmountable to get everybody to work together, because you're not just trying to put everybody in one room every day comparing notes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great point. And so when we look at this slide here, this finally creating that, like you said, the experience layer and the intelligence layer, we're looking at the front end here, what people are experiencing, and then the back end of how that back end is really supporting what people are experiencing. Because at the end of the day, they don't members, clients, customers, they don't care what's happening in your back end. They don't care whether your departments aren't the technology isn't speaking to each other. All they want is the experience that is happening to them right now. And like Melissa said, the experience is even providing them with something that they maybe haven't even thought they wanted, and being able to provide that is what sets you apart. I mean, Uber is again a great example. We think about it, you never really thought that, oh, you would want to have an app where you can just set your location and a car will come and pick you up. And now everyone's using it. It's really become something that everybody knows and everybody has used at some point in such a short time. I mean, it really has become so popular so quickly. And, we didn't even really know we needed that. So being able to really understand and create those experience layers, and then have that intelligence layer being able to support that, is really will really make your organization stand out. Okay, we're going to get in. I'm sorry, go
I
ahead.
was going to add, yeah, I was going to add, because this is Jeff with NeoSystem. When we get into looking at the customer journey, right? It's if you're on modern systems, often it's not necessarily the system that's the problem. It actually may be the process. The fix may be simpler than you think it is. But if you aren't on modern systems, what we find with most of our clients is if you deploy modern systems, you will eliminate a whole lot of problems. Right? You'll eliminate other systems that are in place simply because you didn't have a better solution. Right? Things that people built and bolted onto the side because they had a need 10 years ago. Now these systems are outdated. They can't talk to other systems very well. So a move to a modern system will actually allow you to cut the expenses associated with maintaining and updating and working with that type of software.
Mm-hmm. Great point. And Jeff, I know you want to mention something here to this slide about people getting comfortable with the cloud. But before we do that, we want to just do our second poll here real quick. And please feel free to participate here. Our poll question here is, what are the challenges you face daily that create silos in your organization? Is it difficult to create a unified vision? We don't have a common goal as an organization. I mean, is it something as simple as that? There's no internal drive or incentive. It's the technology is hard to execute, and the data is hard to execute and measure. What are some of the challenges that you are facing here on a daily basis that are actually you feel creating silos? And it looks like people are voting here. I'll share this in a sec with you, but that's very interesting. There's a lot of people that are saying it's very hard to execute and measure the data. I'm going to give it 2 more seconds here. I'm going to close this poll and share the results here. So let's look at this. It's difficult to create a unified vision. We don't have a common goal as an organization. No internal driver incentive, 22%. It's hard to execute and measure data. And then again, if we could have people just type in the question box what other things that you're running into, I think that it would help us be able to follow up with you here. But Jeff, I know that you wanted to just talk a little bit here about the cloud and being comfortable with all of your data being in the cloud nowadays. I know that's a concern for some people.
Yeah, Kazan. So, one of the things we're a hosting provider. You'll find other solutions like NetSuite, which is, it's 100% web, 100% SaaS solution out there. And, the world's changing. Software and OEMs are moving towards SaaS, and there's different varieties of that. but we still see clients and customers come in and they're concerned about the web, right? I mean, reality is you're operating in the web every day. You're gathering customer information through the web. You're sending bank transactions through the web. Clients are doing it today, right? One of the things that we notice as a hosting provider is, I know how much we have to spend, right, to build a secure environment where we don't have a breach. We're in, NetSuite's doing the same thing. So we have, experts that are focused, and we're not only trying to protect our own data, right? We have to protect our clients' data, and we have to prevent breaches, or we will actually lose a segment of our business, right? If someone like NetSuite were to have a major breach in their data, they wouldn't exist as a software company, right? It would be a major problem for them. Same thing for us as a hosting provider, right? So the point I'm trying to make is that the web companies are spending way more in technology and way more in protecting that data and bringing in way more expertise than any single company can really do on their own. And so there's really a higher level of security that you get when you actually make a move to something like the web. So not only are you getting the benefits of modern technology, the benefits of systems that integrate better and can talk better with other systems, but you are actually getting a more secure environment than most companies can create on their own because of the investments folks are making and trying to protect their business and their clients' data.
Great. Well, thanks.
I'd love to expand on that just a second, because I think a lot of people, they get stuck on this piece, and the analogy I like to use is an HR analogy. So you have your office, right? And you hire somebody, and they steal everything out of your office. That's a problem with the hiring process. That's not a problem necessarily with office security or it being insecure, or maybe we should all work from home because we can't have offices. It's the same way with cloud-based service providers. It's more about hiring the reputable service provider. And like Jeff said, our business is based on security. We acquired a security company because we have 25,000 clients with their financial data in there. We have probably about the same volume across all of our clients as Amazon in e-commerce. So we're a good target. But we also then consolidate and have the resources to do things like acquire a security company that just wouldn't be in the realm of possibility for any individual player.
Those are great points. Thanks, guys. And I'm going to jump in here because we are right at the 45-minute mark, but I know people really want to hear about some of these case studies. And so I'm gonna jump right into the case study part here. And again, if you do have any questions, please feel free to put them in. But we'd love to hear more about the AARP story. I know I'm very interested in hearing more about this.
Sure, and the AARP case really builds on everything that we've been talking about. And so, AARP is this huge organization. And what's really interesting about modern cloud-based technologies is we can actually take the exact same piece of software that the AARP uses, and we can deliver it to a 5-person small shop and have it work well for both cases. And this has never really been the case because you had to buy servers, and AARP has to buy 1,000 servers, and somebody else puts it on the desktop. But in a web-based system, we're taking all that out. So for AARP, though, the thing that drove this was not even the modern technology point that Jeff made, although I think that was what finally kind of put the nail in the coffin for them. What drove them was they had these members. They have a huge membership base. And they have a membership base that is being influenced by the customer experience in the commercial world. And they increasingly are packaging with their membership sets of services, insurance, things like that. So what they ended up doing is they had these very old legacy systems. They, as a fairly cutting-edge organization, we're staying on the front end of what we call systems of engagement. So these are the actual IT systems that your customers interact with. but they kept bolting them on, right? So they bolt on another one, they bolt on another one, they bolt on another one. And they start passing their customers from department to department and have all of these problems that we talked about. And so, our engagement with them actually started with a very small piece of the puzzle, which is they had a lot of products that they had to deliver. Customers aren't just going to AARP to get a membership, they're going to get information, to get insurance. They package up different pieces of their offerings for different parts of their community. And so essentially they had a product configuration problem. And they were going to go bolt on another system. And they looked at NetSuite and said, oh, okay, you guys have ERP, great, you can do the product configuration for us. And then they realized, oh, wait, when we put in NetSuite, because it's a modern system, it was really easy to get the product configuration out to our legacy stuff. It was a lot easier to get it out of NetSuite than it was to get it into the external systems. And so, we've started to pilot with them, how do you start knocking off and centralizing those systems of record? And so I mentioned the systems of engagement. Those will often be the spokes in the model. These are where your transactions start often, where your relationships start, event registration, e-commerce site, things like that. But then this stuff has to come back to central financial and ERP systems that try to create that 360-degree view. And what's interesting is for AARP, because they were in that old software model, they literally were doing things like putting Hyperion, which is a huge enterprise-level business intelligence system, in the middle, throwing in their financial data and a bunch of CRM data, and then trying to make sense of it. But what that meant was there's a very limited group within AARP that could actually get a view on what was happening with the customer. So that call center rep doesn't get the benefits of Hyperion. And so, for us, that's the trajectory people are going through. And you look at these big organizations like AARP to kind of see where your future is, because the trends hit them much faster. Because 1% change in their revenue can be fairly substantive.
That's very interesting. I would love to have seen what that backend looked like, drawn out on a piece of paper. Great. Well,
that was one of those 200 system backends.
Yeah, then a much bigger piece of paper, right? Great. And we're going to jump here into I don't want to butcher this, the ASCLS story, American Society of Clinical Laboratory Science. Did I say that right?
That's correct, Kazan. Thank you. So, ASCLS is actually it's a nonprofit organization that we deliver really business process as a service. And when I say that, we're combining best of breed systems that have already been integrated for this specific need to provide services. ASCLS they were an example of everything we've been talking about. They had grown from really disparate systems. When they started out years and years ago, they had outsourced independent functions to different folks. So, they were outsourcing accounting to one place, meeting management to another, journal editor to another, membership management to another place. And what they had was all these siloed systems that were in place. The end result of that as they grew, right, was that membership mailings and communications were going out wrong because they had the wrong email addresses and the wrong information in their systems. They just weren't getting from system A to system B properly, right? People were doing dual entry, information was getting in incorrectly. They also found their billings were going out incorrectly. And really what they found is they were creating such a negative customer experience and how they were communicating with their clients, and the members having to deal with billings that were inaccurate. And that takes your customers time. If they have to call you about a bill that's inaccurate, right, you're giving them a bad experience. The net result for them was they started having cash flow problems because AR was slowed down. But even more importantly, they actually started having massive membership loss. They were they were losing thousands of members. They have about 7,000 members now, and at the time they were going through all of this, they had ended up losing 2,000 or 3,000 members. There's more information on this case study. They came to, they went looking for solutions 3 or 4 years ago. Neosystems ended up on the map, and we helped them with that, mapping that customer journey, finding the right systems that would meet their needs, and helping them put those in place. So now they're back on a growth path, and they could actually, instead of trying to worry about what the financials look like and, the inaccuracy of those financials because the data is bad, or whether or not emails are going to the wrong place because contact information is bad, they're able to execute their strategy, right, as a not-for-profit organization, and leave those back office functions, to Neosystems, and know that they're going to get the quality and that their customers deserve, and that's what we were able to help them with. But really, it was all in the systems. They had it was just simply because of growth, right? They did what they had to do at the time they had to do it, and they grew out of it, and it just took them a long time, right? They had to feel some pain of membership loss before they were able to invest the time and energy needed to find a better solution.
And Jeff, is this case study available online at Neosystems? I'm sure people would like to read more about both of these case studies. I just want to...
Yes, the full write-up is available on the Neosystems website, and we can share more information after this meeting's over with the participants.
Great, thank you. Well, if you guys have any more questions, please feel free. I had a couple, someone had to drop off, and thank most of you for staying on. I know we've gone over, but thank you for staying on. To stay in touch here, please get in touch with Amy from Neosystems and David from NetSuite. And then again, Kizan from Balance if you have any more questions. And I think that you guys, Jeff, David, you guys did a great job today. It's very interesting to hear more about this stuff. We come at it from front-end perspective when we do the customer journey map. So it's very interesting to hear what some companies are doing and how they're getting around some of these siloed technology problems. So thank you so much for participating. People are saying this is very informative, so thank you again. I don't see any more questions coming in, so I'm not going to take up any more of your lunch break. But David, thank you so much. Jeff, thank you. Melissa,
thanks for having us.
Really appreciate it, and we look forward to doing something like this soon.
Yep. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.